playing Samurai, FiOth here, and what you just witnessed is me killing the White Tiger in less than 8 seconds without leaving weapon in New Game Plus. I suppose if it was a Twilight mission it could have taken like a couple of swings more in low stance, so since I suppose you want to know how this can be done, I'm gonna go through my Black Oni build in detail and tell you what you need to achieve similar results. First and foremost, I respect so I could be at level 200. You do not even need to be at 200 to achieve this, but since we're gonna go for as much damage as possible and availability of samurai points in order to invest in skills, I'm hitting 200 and leaving it there for you to see the results that I'm getting. You can go as high as you want. I will tell you how to prioritize leveling up your stats to get more damage out of the build after I explain the perks. Without further ado, let's get to it. First and foremost, as you can see, my attack on my main weapon is upwards from 1600. It's 1647 at the moment with an 160 plus 10 Atagi Sadamune, and using the Atagi Sadamune is what you're gonna be doing. It doesn't have a fancy divine perk like purifying when you go through the Yokai realm, cleansing it like another sword you get at the end game. I don't want to spoil that for you, but what it does is it works with the gear that you're wearing, and that is the cross sickles set. It's Kingo's armor, you guessed that right, and there's a very specific reason why we will be doing this. So making or breaking point of this build is having a Yasakani Magatama equipped in any of your 2 accessory slots, and the reason you need that is to get the set bonus requirement down by 1. You cannot use 2 Yasakanis to get a -2, sadly, so we're gonna have to deal with the -1. You want to do this because you want to be getting the perks from Kingo's armor by wearing only 5 instead of 6 pieces. And what this does for you is damage reduction, healing strike damage, very important for this build, close combat damage, increased attack and defense when using the Aya Komori, which we will be using but not for the 10 points, I'm gonna get into that in a bit. Damage from behind plus 20%, very important, and close damage 8.5% up. This is step 1. Step 2, you want to have at least 2 pieces of the Yayu armor set. I'm using the Yayu garb because I want to get light chest armor, 2.9 units here instead of wearing Kingo's that is significantly heavier, and the Tengu Kiri here as an offhand. I didn't even reroll that, I just wanted to get the perks related to the set. I want to get 2 tiers out of it because it's a very small set, it only has 4 pieces. I get more damage reduction from this, Kiri covering, we're using Water Shadow, close combat damage, and the extend parry opening. You are going to decimate all human opponents with this perk because we will be using parries and counters with this build. You can get upwards from 10,000 damage just by timing a button press on a humanoid opponent, and in most cases that's gonna kill them and it's gonna trivialize fighting humans. When it comes to your ranged weapons, you want the Warrior of the West bow and the Raven Wing rifle. Why you want those? Because in tandem with the Yasakani Magatama, just by using the bow, you're getting the 2 pieces bonus from this set, damage reduction and skill damage for your Tiger Sprint, which is the running EI strike, very powerful, very useful, and the Raven Wing rifle gives you 2 more perks by just having 1 piece equipped, damage reduction and life recovering for Bullseye. Now, considering that you probably rolled life recovery from Bullseye on your ranged weapons like I did here, you will get that 167 from this, plus 310, you're almost getting back 500 HP just by hitting a tiny skeleton in the head. Very handy for preserving your elixirs, not that you're gonna need them with this build, but anyway, it's better not to waste stuff that you might need in the DLC or whatever. Don't waste. So, onward to the perks. Now, of course, as you might have guessed, this build relies heavily on attacking the enemy's back. So first and foremost, Signal Blade, and we go for the Sword of Execution. Increased damage dealt when attacking an enemy from behind with a sword. And when it says increased damage, it is significantly higher than just attacking their faces. So we get this to start off with a build. There are priorities here, and there are secondary stuff, and there is stuff that's more trivial, but it's all gonna contribute to how you're gonna approach the build. First and foremost, you wanna use the perks on this build that are gonna benefit your combat style the most. For example, if you like using EI Quick Draw, invest in EI Quick Draw first, but know that in order for this to be devastating, going upwards from maybe 30,000-40,000 damage depending on your close combat damage modifier coming from all your gear and your accessories, you will want to probably slow down an opponent with Sloth, get behind them and use the EI Quick Draw for devastating effect. If you're gonna go, like I usually do, low stance on to most enemies and just get behind them, you are gonna get different perks to achieve that. That being said, because you are 200 level, you probably can unlock everything related to the sword and the passives that we're gonna get from the rest of the weapons. So, going through it in detail, bear with me, and we're gonna get the results that we want. So, this is combos, and this is the Indomitable Spirit that gives you Ki recovery speed by 10% when your health drops to 30% or lower. You will probably heal when you get to 30% or lower, but just in case you're in a tight spot and it's a win or lose situation depending on how fast you can attack a boss, for example, or a Tonged Monk or a Tengu, you will want to have your Ki up when the shit hits the fan. So invest in that. This is kinda secondary, it's recovering Ki, it ties into every build more or less, but it's not what you need. Here is your EI. As I said, if you're gonna use this, you wanna be positioned behind the enemy to charge your attack or surprise them altogether by approaching from the rear and charging before they can react to your assault. Here, another passive, it gives you Ki, it gives you 5 more Ki added to your total pool. Not a make or break thing, but you will still wanna have it just in case. We keep going down the sword path, and as you can see, it's mostly active stuff, combos that you're gonna use, and what you will not want to miss from this is the swift step. In low stance, you can go and reposition yourself behind your opponent just by prompting up on your L3 and X at the same time. You will just have to attack the enemy once, then prompt swift step, and you will be getting behind them in no time, slicing and dicing. For yokai, this is devastating because they cannot actually block any attacks. You will just hit them with a low stance hit, reposition yourself, and Oni, one hind Oni, Yoki, all those enemies, they do not have the reaction time to defend themselves from the onslaught of fast, low stance attacks delivering upwards from 4,000 damage per hit, as you saw in the vid below. Add Carnage Talisman to that, or maybe a Weakness Talisman on their defensive parameters, and you will have devastating effects in no time. Moving on to the dual swords. What you want to get is this. Close combat damage increase 5% against enemies with full life gauge, plus 5 on the second tier and plus 10 on the first tier. That's plus 20% when you initially attack an enemy that has full health. And because you will be killing enemies in one hit most of the time, you want this. Plus 20% is devastating. An EI placed in the right moment, just a high stance, heavy attack on an opponent's back, and they will be dead before they can do anything. You will be destroying them in no time. Moving lower to this, 3 tiers, sorry about that, 3 tiers of Ki recovery speed here, plus 10, plus 5 and plus 5 on the defense arts. You want that, so when you have to guard, you're getting your key back faster. It's not a make or break perk for this build, but it still will help you. That's what you need from the dual swords. Now, on the spear path, go for Cornered Tiger. When your health drops to 30% or lower, close combat damage increases by 6, 3 and 3. That's 12% when you're getting cornered. With low health, you're getting 12% more damage. Very, very, very important. For mid stance, your heavy thrust attacks can be increased by 12% as well with this, but this is not the most important thing you should be getting. That's for the dual swords. Moving on with the axe, you probably want to take Fortitude for 200 HP free out of the bat from this. Not a make or break again, but get it nonetheless just in case. Here as well, the corner bore, you're gonna get received damage reduction by 20, 30, 40% when you have 30% or lower, and that works perfectly with reduced damage critical on your armor, so invest in this as well. Kusarigama has some pretty important passives as well. Here in Armor Piercer, you're getting 8, 4 and 4, that's 16 on your final blows, very, very, very important. And here you're getting more damage from behind, 12% more, which is the core of this build, and it's very important as well. Here, last but not least, when your health is at max, your close combat damage increases by 3%, and because you will rarely get attacked, because the enemies will not have time to attack you if you approach them the right way or slow them down, you're getting 12% free combat damage when you're in a good state. Also note that if you activate your living weapon with full HP, you're getting this benefit because your living weapon gauge does not represent your HP, it just represents the might of the weapon, its durability, and does not affect your actual health points. Going to Ninjutsu, you will want to get attack from behind, of course the sneak attack, so you can deal more damage when the enemy is unaware. It's not the most important thing in the world because you will probably be using EI. What you want to get is increase your recurrent damage by 10, 5 and 5%. This is because if you use anything that procs fire, for example, or poison, you will be getting 20% more damage per tick from this. Very handy to have for a plethora of scenarios, not a make or break, but since we do not invest anything in Ninjutsu, just get this to have a slight edge when something procs on the enemy. Also, you can invest in Supa, like getting 5 Supa scrolls. When you just need to reposition yourself behind an annoying enemy, use this. Just walk, do not run. Only run if you have cat walking as well. And you will be placed behind them and be able to deal a first attack that of course will probably kill the enemy unless they're really, really high level. Onmyo, get these 4 here, ignore lifesteal and go for weakness talisman and sloth. You cannot actually ignore it, you will still have to invest in it to open sloth, but just do not activate it ever. Also, don't deal with the vigorate, they will not be attacking you much anyway, so you just need weakness and you need sloth. You need amplification at your mystic art slot, extends the duration's effect from skills and items, and that is because we want to take advantage of this, the Pleiades talisman and the extraction talisman. Now the reason we want this is because in some missions, no matter how much damage you have, no matter how much HP you have, getting cornered or assaulted by 2 Yoki and the Tongue Monk, or maybe a Tengu at the same time, or a Will Monk, it's not gonna make much of a difference. You're just gonna get mowed down, and yes, you can draw them out one at a time and deal with them, and since you're human, you will be making mistakes, as I make mistakes many times. So you will want to activate your living weapon. And although this build does not rely on living weapon like other builds, I don't like builds that rely on living weapon, first and foremost because this thing is going to get nerfed into the ground sooner or later. The people at Tecmo Koei know that living weapon is a game breaker at the moment and they're gonna nerf it heavily. And second is because it takes next to zero skill just to spam square and destroy stuff with a heavily dependent heavy weapon build. I'm not saying that you can't enjoy the game like that, but learning how to play and being prepared for maybe the PvP upcoming DLC that probably will take away our living weapons most of the time, you will want to know how to fight with an actual weapon. So you will use these two, and you'll also use this inanimate enchantment to get 5 seconds on your living weapon, and these two to activate because before any major encounter, to keep your living weapon recharging whilst you're using it. Using these two with Carnage Talisman before you get into an encounter will guarantee that you probably survive it unscathed and without having to exit living weapon at all. So you want these 3 talismans in your build, and you will want weakness and sloth. To achieve that, you will have to have 30 points in your Onmyo magic. Apart from that, you can invest in Evil Ward that reduces damage from yokai, or a Sikisen Lackrite that increases your luck, but it's not a make or break perk. The basic ones are the ones I just mentioned: Pleiades Talisman, Extraction Talisman, and Carnage Talisman. Now, the stats. I go 40 at body because I want upwards from 3500 HP, 15 at heart, 8 at stamina, 15 at strength, 99 in skill, nothing on dexterity, just the base, 30 magic and 30 spirit. Now you're gonna say, why skill and not heart? And here is where the Atagi Sadamune really shines. It allows you to change your attack to skill by transferring an inherent perk from another blade to this blade, because it does not tie into a change of attack skill, a change to attack, like for example you can see it here, it is built into Matengu Kiri, but I got lucky, it would not have a perk like that originally if it didn't roll well, but there are other weapons that force you to get a change to attack perk in your build. The Atagi Sadamune does not, so you can get the perk from another weapon and make use of it. Second, you get water, and water when it procs reduces the defensive attributes of your enemies. Very, very, very important. Plus, Willmonks, maybe the most unpredictable enemies in the game, are fire-based, and water just tears through them with quick attacks from your low stance. What you're gonna get in this weapon is a change to attack skill that will roll at A+, killing strike damage, damage from behind, and close combat key reduction for yourself, because you will be spamming that square on low stance quick attacks. You want to be expending as little key as possible per blow. Now, to get this humongous amount of damage, upward from 1600, you will want attack on all your armor. And of course, you probably know that the only pieces of armor that get attack inherently are kote, that's the gloves. So you will want to get a pair of gloves that have attack in them from Kingo's armor, and then you will want 4 more gloves from whichever set that have inherent attack, so you can max familiarity and transfer them to the rest of the pieces. Getting around 34 per piece, you're getting 160 free attack points on the damage of your main weapon, and that is pretty huge, because with the backstab multipliers this is gonna get insane. There are a couple more touches you can add to this to make it even more deadly. You could pick the Kobayakawa clan from the Hidden Tea House that gives you an 8% damage from behind bonus. That will be added to the rest of your damage multiplier and increase the whole amount significantly. You could also go Maida clan, since it gives you added yokai close combat attack when you have a sword equipped, and as it says here, you get a more effective result if you're equipping 2 swords in your weapon slots. And since we are equipping 2 swords in our weapon slots, both the Tengu Kiri and the Atagi Sadamune, we're getting a higher effect than if we had just one blade. But if you ask me, I would go for even more damage from behind, since the build is highly dependent on it. Last but not least, you should be picking a Guardian Spirit that complements the whole thing, and this is the Aya Komori. We're not picking it because we're getting plus 10 to defense and attack. This is nothing, but you're getting plus 15% damage from behind that will work with the rest of your damage from behind applied from all the effects of the build. So I cannot give you de facto numbers for your values because you might be getting 1 point higher or 1 point lower on your attack multipliers on your armor, or maybe something different than what I have here in my accessories, but all in all you will be looking at 1600 damage on your attack multiplier on your main weapon at least, and all the multipliers from attacking from behind, close combat damage multipliers for various types of enemies, the buffs from Carnage Talisman, and the debuff on the enemy's defenses with weakness, etc, etc, etc. That is all without even activating your living weapon. It only goes upwards from there. So this is my Black Oni build. Of course I am here wearing Kingo set, I am not wearing the Onryoki mask, I'm not wearing the Obsidian armor. I just refashion those to look the way I like them to look. You can always refashion your stuff, as you know. So people, I don't have my gear to 160, not all of it. I only have my weapon to 160 plus 10. So some things will only improve by getting to my desired results. But as it stands here, I just rip through Twilight 310 missions. I can very easily solo endgame content like a meeting on the other shore, or the Demon King revealed, or the 100 Eyes on the epilogue. Give this build a shot if you like what you just saw, and please subscribe, like and share for more content. It really helps a lot. Until next time, be well, stay frosty, and always strive for perfection, people. Cheers.